We open the doors of this church for everybody to come in.
There are a lot of things from our Hispanic culture that we like to focus on.
Y necesitamos ayudar a nuestra gente.
We need to help our people.
That if the Lord was to come, that He would find me doing something for Him.
God has placed us in a very unique place, and so we minister to the people that God brings to us. And a lot of times, the people that can connect with us are those who can relate to us.
Nearly 17% of Hispanics belong to Protestant and non-denominational churches. As the Hispanic population grows, these churches are reaching out to them. With 70,000 Hispanics, they now make up 30% of Lubbock's population. But some believe the church's efforts may be too little, too late.
We have just created an awareness in the last year, and that is to plant new Hispanic churches, reaching the thousands upon thousands that are now in Lubbock, because I don't know that we can ever catch up because we're just so far behind. But we're doing everything within our powers and our focus to be able to create a new vision of really reaching out and targeting Hispanic groups. And yet without forgetting any of the other niche groups that might be in Lubbock now.
The churches face a series of challenges, including a shortage of leadership and funding, complicated by language barriers.
Another issue that we've also had is simply leadership has been a problem within, and I can only speak for Baptists because that's who we are, but leadership has been a problem in that we have not developed, we've not created Hispanic leadership in the younger generations like maybe we should have, and thus we're now playing catch up again even in leadership.
To be moved. He that keepeth thee will not. How the church got started? Well, first here in Lubbock about 39 years ago, I started with prayer meetings in houses, and we got to where there were about 60, 65 people, all denominations.
Raymond Bacone started the church, and by 2005 he finally raised enough money to purchase 5 acres of land on Lubbock's east side. He didn't know when he made the purchase that the small white service station with a carport came with it.
And this gas station has been a blessing. It used to be a gas station, but now I call it a Holy Ghost filling station. It's just a matter of money, and that's what's holding me back.
The amount of money that is generated by most Hispanic family is different from our Anglo brothers and sisters, and thus, once again, the amount of tithes and offerings has become an issue.
Aside from the funding, some of the largest issues Hispanic church leaders face include language and cultural barriers.
It's amazing who goes to the Spanish-speaking service and who goes to the English. We knew from the very start that we did not want to do bilingual in the same service just because it takes away, I think it makes it twice as long, and people hear double, especially if you know both languages. So we wanted to be very focused and specifically for English speakers, and then another service specifically for those who prefer Spanish.
When I was growing up, before our churches were having the worship wars over whether you should have blended worship or contemporary worship or traditional worship, our Hispanic congregations were having their language wars. They were very there were discussions in congregations about whether there should be English-speaking Sunday school classes, whether there should be any English worship songs, and there were people who would stand up and say, this is a Mexican congregation. As a matter of fact, most of the Hispanic Baptist churches were called Mexican Baptist churches, and they'd say, we're here, and this is our culture, and this is what needs to be taught here, and everything's going to be in Spanish. And so we saw an entire second and third generation that grew up. They couldn't invite their friends. They would say, why don't you invite your friends to church? And our friends were English-speaking friends, and all of our activities in church were in Spanish. So we began to see a dilution of that generation that was lost because some of the churches didn't make the adjustments that were necessary to reach their children in their cultural context, or their grandkids in their cultural context. And we lived through that. We grew up through that, and we have a strong conviction that we want to make sure that the next generation after us is reached in their cultural context.
But we're beginning to see changes. We're beginning to see differences. We're beginning to see that even in the Hispanic population, there are better incomes, there's better housing, better opportunities for them, and thus they're becoming a new people, refocused and redirected at what they desire for their children and their children's children. And thus I believe with all my heart that we're going to see in the future a new wave of Hispanic Baptist churches that will be cutting edge and simply reaching the third generation, which is the younger generation of most of our population.